Welcome to the Lawless Astrology channel. My name is Dabney and I'm an evolutionary astrologer. Today I'm going to talk about Uranus going direct and the fact that we only have a few more months of Uranus in the sign of Taurus before it goes into Gemini. So if that's content you're interested in, I do hope you stick around. What I do on this channel is I look at the planetary energy. I take it, I interpret it, and I bring it down and hopefully make more sense in our own personal lives so we can live a more conscious and peace-filled life. This video is going to contain a lot of politics. So if that is not your jam and you're like, no more, no thank you, totally get it, just not the video for you. But I am having a hard time ignoring what is going on in our world. I think it is incredibly powerful. I think it is incredibly chaotic, and I think it is incredibly disturbing. So I'm going to talk about the astrology of now, and I'm hoping to give you a little hope at the end of all of this, despite the challenges. So let's talk. Okay, Uranus, the planet of disruption, the planet of change, the planet of necessary change. This video is called the necessary tipping point, and that is because all that we are seeing now that is really putting us in this state of like, can I get out of bed? Okay, I'm going to get out of bed. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to find a way. It's necessary. It's necessary for us to look and see what has been existing for decades underneath the surface, and maybe forever. Uranus comes along and says something needs to give, something needs to change. It happens in all of our own lives. We have Uranus transits, and wherever Uranus is transiting in your own personal chart, that realm is an area where you have to evolve and you have to update the programming. And I just did a video that I think is coming out today, and I will link to it, with Suzanne Sanders of Go Higher Frequency, where we talk about Uranus in each of the houses and what that means. So definitely check that out if you'd like to see all 12 houses. Okay, so where to begin? I haven't done a personal video in a few weeks. I did do one, but I didn't put it up. I did one when I was in Europe. That was very personal, and I was not in necessarily the headspace to share such a personal journey. So I opted not to put that one up, but I'm in a much better headspace now, and I am home. And so, and this one's a little less personal. I think it's about all of us. So, okay, Uranus, planet of disruption. It's currently in the sign of Taurus. Taurus has to do with money, sex, security, safety. It has to do with land, animals, farming, banking. These are Taurian themes, okay? It has been retrograde. So Uranus doesn't like to be in Taurus. Uranus likes to, kind of break onto the scene and say, it's time to shake it all up. It flips the chessboard. And Taurus is like, what are you doing? I do not like that. I would like everything to stay the same. Taurus is a fixed sign. It's like, no, thank you. I like the way things are. So just don't rock my boat. Even if the boat needs to be rocked, I don't want it. So since 2018, there has been a tug of war between Uranus and Taurus because Uranus energy, like I said, is like, I've got to change things. This isn't working. This is wrong. I know this is uncomfortable for you, but I don't really care. And Taurus is like, well, you better care. So they've negotiated since 2018. In recent months, it has been retrograde, meaning it has slowed down and it has given us time to actually figure out what is going on. We have seen some Taurian themes, Uranus and Taurus, like the changing dynamic in farming. We've seen the soy farmers, a lot of bankruptcies being declared. We've seen the cattle ranchers say, this is an unsustainable dynamic where all of the money is going to the meat processors, not to us, and we can't do this anymore. We've seen the cost of meat skyrocket. So these are sort of like Uranus and Taurus, like we have to look at like, how does our farming work? Okay, so just so you know, the Uranus was in Taurus during the Dust Bowl, and that was about sustainability. That was an environmental crisis that then once Uranus went into Gemini, there was this entirely new way that we began farming and irrigating the farms. And there's like a whole documentary on it on like the American Experience or something. And this is how I know this. So much of my knowledge comes from like Ken Burns documentaries. I wish I was like a historian, honestly. Okay, but that's really interesting. So I think it was the Ken Burns Dust Bowl. So check it out. But that was Uranus and Taurus, okay? So Uranus just went stationary direct. Okay, so also what's been kind of simmering beneath the surface where we've kind of gotten like peekaboo, like little looks and like thinking about it. The legislation that came out of Congress led by Massey, Ro Khanna, and Marjorie Taylor Greene about releasing the Epstein files. Now, this, I believe, is a big key, okay? And this does have to do with the elite wanting to protect one another. This has to do with the fact that this has been something like 4 administrations who have known what has been going on and have kept it hidden from view. Uranus is like at the end here, like, time to release, time to reveal. So Uranus went direct, stationary to go direct. So it's like standing still right now. So like you're really feeling it and it's going to go direct. Okay. So when Uranus stations to go direct, suddenly Uranus picks up momentum. And I don't know if you noticed, but the e-files yesterday were like, the stuff coming out was so shocking. And do you notice that the mainstream media is ignoring all of it? I mean, things that absolutely need to topple people like left and right are just not even being talked about. Or if they are, it's like on page 10 of the New York Times. Like it's not front page news. Why was this blue dress and an intern top news for, I don't know, like a year, every single story? How about Joe Biden, potentially having Parkinson's, or was like whatever they were saying, top news. But this, hardly anything, okay? We have Supreme Court judges implicated. It touches everything, okay? So it touches everything, and it's really, really awful and disgusting. And I'm not going to get into everything here, obviously. I would recommend, though, that you do follow what's happening, because this is the story. This is the thing. That astrologers, we've been like saying like, something big's coming. We can't tell you exactly what. Like, it's going to be a financial crisis. Is it going to be a climate catastrophe? I'm telling you, this is it. Because this is so shocking. And now the momentum of Uranus moving forward is going to clean up this mess. It is going to be chaotic. It is going to be uncomfortable, and it is going to destroy everything that we thought we could rely on when it came to a ruling class of people, whether that's media. We've got David Brooks. We've got Noam Chomsky. We've got Bill Gates. It's not just our Orange Menace. And I don't care. I do not care if there's not a disgusting story attached to it. There may be classifications of evilness. However, the reality is this information was commonly known by this inner circle of people that were in participation. So watch Melinda Gates's response. It tells you what you need to know about whether it's true or not. So, when it's not one side or the other, when it's everything, and it's always been there, it feels sickening. But that's Uranus's job, is to come and say, guess what? This can't go on any longer. So, here's the themes, right? Money, sexuality, power dynamics. Taurus has a lot to do with power dynamics. It's the opposite of Scorpio. Scorpio gets the bad rap for being the power player. But they are opposing signs. And part of a power play can be to keep the systems in place that are hurting people. So, the astrology is just incredible. The timing, the way everything's lining up is just insane. It is going to be a challenging month for our nervous systems. It's going to be a challenging month for sensitive people to process all that has been going on that we didn't know about, and that everything that we could trust is not real. Who can you trust? That's a very Scorpio-Taurus axis. Who can you trust? Devastation, Scorpio-Taurus axis. So we're going to see more devastation. This is the point I want to make, is it is all necessary. So just because we didn't know this family member was doing something horrible to another family member, does that mean that it wasn't happening? It was happening. When it all comes out and everyone sees it, and this explains why, people say, why didn't Joe Biden's administration, and I would like to know why Merrick Garland didn't do anything. They say, well, if the Orange Menace was implicated, then they would have released it. No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't, and no, they didn't. They didn't because they are all trying to protect a system that keeps the ruling elite above everyone else. And this is just incredible because Pluto in Aquarius doesn't like that. Uranus in Taurus is duking it out still. But once Uranus moves into Gemini, we're going to have a clear direction of where this is all headed. And I don't think it's going to be what we thought. I do think that we will eventually have a new constitution. I do believe we will have a new form of government when this is all said and done. And that is not said to scare you. It's maybe there to empower you. There's so many things that we can feel optimistic about right now, which is one, when you shine a light on the darkness, it becomes less insidious. It is not the poison that we have ingested. Like I said, even in our own personal lives, this is a tipping point. What have we not wanted to look at? What is a story we've been telling ourselves to keep ourselves safe that we didn't think we could break free from? It's time. We are all, Neptune's already moved into Aries. Saturn is on its heels coming up, and I'm going to do a video about that. Saturn in Aries. Okay. It doesn't mean this is all going away overnight. February is huge. February is huge, and February is the tipping point. It's the necessary tipping point. It is the threshold that gets us to the big battles that will be taking place in the spring, and hopefully more solutions-based and flowing energy, praying by summer. Something that feels less crazy making. Because I don't know about you, but I hear this from other people. This is crazy making. Like, why is everyone just ignoring this? Why are we, why is the information not out there? Well, the information is getting out there. It is getting out there if you look. Okay? And I'm trying to do my part. I have to be somewhat careful because I don't know. I'm actually not on social media other than YouTube for my own mental health reasons. And so I do want you to take care of your mental health. And when you need to take a break, please take a break. But Uranus is moving forward. And when Uranus moves forward, that's earthquakes. And I can tell you quite literally, there was some earthquakes. I live in the Bay Area, and the day before and the day of the station, we've had like swarms of earthquakes here in the Bay Area. And we had one, I was up at like 4 a.m, jet lagged, and like the whole house shook, like really, like to the point where I was like, oh, wow. It might have been like 6 a.m. at that point. But I was like, wow, earthquakes. And that's it. They're metaphorical. Not, I'm not saying the whole like world is going to start having earthquakes, but these are metaphorical and maybe literal earthquakes that are taking place, and they're necessary. It doesn't mean it's easy. So you have to find ways to take care of yourself. Okay. I like got a cold when I got home, like, take your vitamins, get sleep. Like watch, keep up on the news, but then go watch a comedy or something that makes you like lowers your cortisol levels, right? Go to yoga. I know that this sounds kind of trite, but it's all we have right now. And watch other YouTube channels that confirm your bias, but that inform you in such a way that you don't feel alone or that you're going crazy. So that's what the story I want to tell about Uranus going direct. And like I said, I knew that this was going to be more of a political video than an astrological one. It is astrological in nature because everything is lining up. The Aries, the Neptune going into Aries, the Uranus moving forward in Taurus, the end degrees. And I'll do some some additional videos and like kind of let you know about, the Sabian symbols and things like that. But the reality is I just want you all to take care of yourselves, know that you're not crazy. And yes, this is actually happening and there will be consequences. I absolutely promise you. Will they be what we think? Maybe not. Are people going to be perp walked? Probably not. Okay. But we're starting to see some consequences in other countries, like in Europe. Brexit happened before the Orange Menace. At least, like that election, right? There's something about us trailing them. I'll get some comments about people talking to me about timing, but I know I remember sitting there when Brexit passed. And I was out to dinner with my husband, and this is back when the world felt so much simpler, honestly. And I was like, uh-oh. Because that scared me to think that then we were going to have what we got in the 2016 elections. Okay. Additionally, look into the ties and what's going on. Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Nick Dagan-Best has done some amazing research over on the Astrology podcast about what happens during Saturn Neptune, and this has a lot to do historically with Russia, and they're all over those files. And there was news that came out yesterday that Suzanne Sanders brought to my attention about where like QAnon started, 4chan and Gamergate. All of these things were initiated intentionally through this group of people. Fascinating and disturbing. We've had so many opportunities all along the way within both sides of the aisle, with everybody. We've had so many opportunities to rein in the chaos and the destruction that is being wrought at this time. And I'm not both sidesing, and I can't ignore the fact that this didn't have to happen, that we could have told the truth somewhere along the way. Somewhere along the way, we could have protected these now women, who were girls. We could have protected the populace from the destructional energy of separating us from troll farms and bots and misogyny and racism that has turned us all against one another. There's so many times that this could have been shifted. So in our own personal lives, let's talk about, how we can handle Uranian energy. Don't shy away from the hard truths. If you know it's time to leave your job, it's time to leave your job. If you know it's time to leave your marriage, it's time to leave your marriage. These are those sort of hard decisions that come like bolts of lightning out of the blue. For me personally, I'm so disgusted with the media, and it's gotten so much worse. I don't know how much longer I can do my PR job. I'm really coming to the point where I morally can't do this any longer. I used to be I used to love my job, and I used to be very concerted about once I was out on my own, the kinds of clients that I would take, that I had to feel like they did something positive in the world because I'm helping make them. And now it's just, I need to do what I'm called to do, which is work with you all and interpret the stars and teach and coach and sit there with you while this takes place. So let's pick some cards, wanna? Okay, I'm going to go with my Osho deck because I'm pretty familiar with the cards here and what they mean without necessarily having to read them. So we're going to pick a card for Uranus going direct. This is Uranus going direct and what we need to know about that. Projections. Okay, the projection card is about seeing the other person one way when you actually need to turn it in on yourself. And this is what I was talking about, that every single administration has been complicit. And we can blame one another, but that's not going to do any good. Projection also, this card also clearly speaks to the fact that there's going to be some cognitive dissonance when people have projected these fantasies of this cabal being only certain people, when it's clearly not, when it clearly touches a lot of people in our current administration. Projection is really about, so I think Uranus going direct is starting to expose these projections. Okay, Uranus and Taurus, just since we've been talking a little bit about that. Let's see. Ooh, interesting. I got Harmony. So that's an interesting card for Uranus in Taurus. And I think that has to do with being more aligned with our own natural instincts and the earth. You've got it. And it's also, I think it's about getting us to that place, right? That we've been talking about, that this is necessary to get to the happily ever after. I always think of, this is the 10 of Cups. It's that happily ever after. And also look at places where we have wanted a happily ever after. So we may have ignored things that are inconvenient. Okay, last card. Anything that people should know for the week ahead. Okay. Guidance. This is about looking, and you know what? Let's read that one. Let's read it. I mean, it's pretty obvious what it's about, but I like sometimes if I can read the wisdom that has been laid out by others. Hold on. This angelic figure with rainbow-colored wings on the card represents the guide that each of us carries within. Like the second figure in the background, we may sometimes be a little reluctant to trust this guide when it comes to us because we are so accustomed to taking our cues from the outside rather than the inside. The truth of our own deepest being is trying to show us where to go right now. And when this card appears, it means that you can trust the inner guidance you're being given. It speaks in whispers, and sometimes we can hesitate, not knowing if we understood right. But the indications are clear, and following the inner guide, you will feel more whole, more integrated, as you are moving outward from the very center of your being. If you go within, this beam of light will carry you exactly where you need to go. Okay, so this is why I usually pick them ahead of time, so then I've integrated how they fit together. But here we have projections, okay? So this is where we are looking to the other instead of within. We're looking for the other to save us. We are looking at the other as the fault, the reason this has happened, the blaming, okay? And then we have harmony, which is about getting us to a state of peace and inner confidence and calm, really, And it's being backed up by the sense that we have to look within. So Taurus as a survival instinct, it is automatic. It is within each and every one of us how to survive, how to breathe, when to eat, how to survive also terrible things, like disassociation is a survival technique. Right? For narcissists, which I've been learning a lot about, narcissism also is a defense mechanism against pure annihilation of ego. So there's these defense mechanisms, and that is kind of the shadow of survival, right? It's like our bodies, our minds, our hearts, our souls, it sometimes doesn't get it right. It's off track. But we do have that inner guidance. We do have that survival instinct. We do know what needs to be done. And that's what I think this trio of cards is about. It's like this journey. Uranus is going to go direct. We're going to have to look within. We're going to have to go back to source. We're going to have to truly feel that we can do this. We know who we are, and this is a necessary tipping point. And if we recognize that the universe is conspiring to help us and that there is right timing for everything, we look at that Menace's chart, all of the things line up, right? And then underneath it all is the Tower card. That's what's coming, is the change. It's the lightning strikes. So we have the Tower coming, but that doesn't mean we don't have our own inner guidance. It doesn't mean we won't have a happily ever after. It just means it's time to see things very clearly so we can build something new. All right. Thank you so much for all your time. Please like, subscribe, and share. I do need to mention a couple things. One is that my transits class, where I have live classes coming up, and that is February 12th and February 15th. So if you are interested in taking my transits class, it's only $89, and you get all sorts of material to learn how to read what's coming up for you. And then we are going to do some live readings in those 2 live classes, okay? I worked really hard on it. I get really good reports from people who take my classes. So that link is going to be available below. If you would just like to learn how to read your own chart, that class is half off now. It's only $34. And I also, if you take one of my classes, you get half off of Astrotheros, which is an incredible deal. Astrotheros is a new astrology software that it's cloud-based, and so it's just all online, so you can access it on your phone, you can access it on your desktop, and they have been kind enough to sponsor the Lawless Astrology, and I've just been really impressed with it, so I'm going to be incorporating their charts into my work online more and more. So if you take one of my classes, you're going to get that 50% off Astrotheros, which makes it really, really affordable. So, and that is exclusive only to people who take my classes. If not, if you don't take my class, but you're still interested in Astrotheros, you get 1 free month just to try it out. So, you get to kind of play with it for a month, see if it's right for you. It's so much simpler than the professional astrology software that costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So it's a really good deal if you are interested in. They're updating it all the time with new features, but it has all of the things that you would need for a basic reading, or digging in if you are a professional astrologer and you want a little bit more, like you want like zodiacal releasing and all that stuff. That's there too. So, okay, that's it. And I hope you have a good week. Hang in there, trust your inner guidance, and until next time, stargazers.